Hunt with Kylan Hunt and Company. Thank you again for attending this Think Tank Thursday with us. I'm super excited to be bringing to you a special series that we're going to go through for the next 21 weeks. And it's actually going to be 22 weeks if you think about this night. So the reason that I'm so excited to bring this to you is my wife and I decided that we wanted to do a mastermind online, and we wanted to share it with all of you. And we're going to touch on one of the most infamous books that I believe the leadership space has, and that's John Maxwell's book on the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. Now, the thing that I learned over the last several years, and I've learned to really embrace, John Maxwell has this statement, and he says that everything rises and falls on leadership. And when I first heard that several years ago, I mean, it's been well over probably 15 years ago that I first heard that statement. And at that point, I had been broke. I'd been bankrupt twice. I was really struggling with my business and with life. And when I heard the statement that John says, everything rises and falls on leadership, wow, I don't know what it was, but that resonated with me a lot. And I began to really study that, and I began to ask the question, is that true? And I've learned that it absolutely is. Everything does indeed rise and fall with leadership. So what I wanted to just go through with you guys here tonight is just a real quick introduction to this book. And we're going to go through a little bit of what the introduction says about this book, and actually, John's introduction himself. But I also wanted to share with you four of these laws, four main laws that are really important to me because they've impacted me substantially over the last several years. Okay? So when you think about everything rising and falling on leadership, I want you to challenge yourself. Look into your own life. Because, see, leadership is influence. It's the ability to influence ourselves, to influence our own thinking, to influence other people's thinking. When we start asking the question, does everything rise and fall on leadership? Take it from that perspective. Am I influencing myself the way that I should? Am I influencing those around me the way that I should? Am I influencing my team the way that I should? Am I influencing my customers the way that I should? Or the way that I could? Think about all the different potentials there, right? So as we start thinking into that space, that's my challenge for you. Test that statement. Does indeed everything rise and fall on leadership? I'm saying that it does. You may have a different opinion. If you have a different opinion, post it in the chat box, post it in the comments, and let me know what you see. Let me know what you see in this leadership space. Is there something else that causes businesses to fail? Is there something else that causes businesses to be successful? What is it? Jim Collins would argue the fact that even though he tried to not focus on leadership in his book Good to Great, he had no choice but to focus on it. It was a major player in good businesses becoming great businesses. And that's what you have to think about with your space. Good people, good salespeople, becoming great salespeople. The difference? Leadership. That's what we've seen. So there's four of these laws that are really powerful to me. And next week we're going to talk about the law of the lid, and that's actually one of these primary laws that is extremely important to me. And here's the reason why. Well, let me share with you first what the law of the lid is. The law of the lid, according to John Maxwell, John will say that our ability to grow our results, our ability to grow our company, to grow our sales results, whatever it may be, Our ability to grow and increase influence we all have a cap. There's all a lid. There's some kind of a lid on our capacity to lead, our capacity to grow. And unless we have the ability to raise that lid, our company, our sales, everything that we do, our leadership, everything is going to hit that lid. So if we want to be better, if we want to grow, we have to first learn how to raise that lid. Because we can't grow unless we can raise that lid on leadership. And that's important to me because I've seen that in my own life. See, when I took off in my old job, in the job that I had before we started Kylan Hunt and Company, I was in a recruiting position. I was in a recruiting and a development position for entrepreneurs across the United States in the water space. And one of the things that I learned in that space after we got to about 30 to 40 entrepreneurs, and these guys are really good, I began to realize that as good as they were, I wasn't good enough. I was starting to cap out. Okay, I was starting to cap out. And I was really good at the sales side. I was really good at getting people into our program, but I was struggling with getting people to duplicate themselves. I was struggling to get them good at sales and be good at helping them develop and grow. So let me share with you a story. I was actually in a meeting where we were doing a sales presentation, and in this meeting I actually sold 30 units of our product. I mean, and that's unheard of. Most people might sell 6 or 7, and I sold 30 units of our product. I was pretty ecstatic, right? I'm driving back to the hotel, and I should have been really excited, but I wasn't. I wasn't excited. I drove back to the hotel, and there was something bothering me. And it was one of the biggest sales presentations I'd ever done. And when I got to the hotel, it kind of hit me. I'm like, I know what's wrong. I just sold 30 units in one meeting. I just sold 30 systems in one meeting. And our entire organization, that was about 30 entrepreneurs at that point, our entire organization had not sold 30 systems in 30 days. And it began to hit me like, Kylan, that's your team. Those are your people. Those are your dealers. Those are your entrepreneurs that you're training, that you're equipping. Why is it that you just sold 30 units and they haven't sold 30 units in 30 days? What's the difference? Well, it come down to me. I wasn't duplicating myself. I wasn't helping them to be successful with their sales. I wasn't helping them lead and grow themselves. And I knew I had a problem. I didn't know what to call it at that point in time, but I knew I had a problem because I was hitting a barrier and it was bothering me inside. So I began to get connected with some people, and I began to understand this is the law of the lid in action. See, I wasn't duplicating myself, and because I wasn't duplicating myself, everybody I was hiring was hitting this lid, and I was hitting that lid. I had to raise my ability to lead myself. I had to raise my ability to lead so I could raise the expectation of others, so I could train and develop others. I had to be more in order for them to be more. That's a big deal, my friends. That is a huge deal, actually. You want to be thinking into that in your own organization. If you want to see better results out of your people, you got to have better results out of yourself. If you're in the leadership space, if you're a manager, that's vital. So I began to really, really watch that. But I saw another piece of the law of the lid in action as my awareness grew. As I started to go out on sales calls with other people, their lids were already capped. And I began to see that they were capped out to their old ways of doing things. They were capped out to their old discussions. They were capped out to an old sales training program. They were capped out to an old belief system. And they were capped out and they didn't realize it That's what really blew me away, is they didn't realize that they were capped out. And I'm like, holy cow, what's happening? This truly is the effect of leadership, or the lack thereof. And I'm like, oh man, this is amazing. We've nailed in on what we know is the problem. So I began to really focus on that. I began to really focus on helping other people raise their awareness to what was happening, what some of their limiting factors were. And oh my goodness, my friends, it was so exciting to watch them take off, to watch the sales teams take off, to watch people start to grow, to watch people do things that I have never done myself. And they were blowing away my expectations, let alone, blowing their goals out of the water. It was so cool. Right? And all because they began to realize that their leadership was impacting their results. And as we all as a team begin to raise that leadership lid, our results begin to go with us. We had room, we had capacity to grow. Okay? So that's a huge, huge deal. Now, the second law that I really wanted to share with you is one that we'll talk about in a few weeks, but it's the law of navigation. Now, again, this one was important to me in the roles that I was in, because I found out that there's a lot of really great operators out here. There's not a lot of great navigators out here, especially in the industry that I was in. And let me give you another example there. So I started getting into the sales space again with a lot of our different entrepreneurs, and all of them had some kind of a primary business. The product that I was bringing to them was not going to be their primary product. They all had a primary product in their business that wasn't ours. So I had the chance to connect with them, watch them sell a little bit, watch them work in that space. And what I began to understand, especially at the entrepreneur level, the business owner's level, is that these guys were really, really good at the job. They were really good at running the system. They were really good at systematized business. And that was huge. That was huge. I admired that. The challenge was they weren't real great at navigating their entire organization to another level. They weren't real good at charting the course and taking their business to another level. They weren't real good at structuring the vision that they were going to take to other people, or take their business to. And I began to realize this is another leadership limitation. They're good at operating the system. They're not real good at taking the system where they want it to go. And that navigation and drawing out and creating that roadmap, that plan to go where they wanted to go, was a weakness. And I began to realize this is something we have to help people understand. It's a leadership component that we have to help improve. And my friends, this is happening all the time because we focus a lot on what we do in our day-to-day work. It's what we do that's going to get results. Totally get that. But it's who you are as a navigator. It's going to take you where you want to go. Who you are matters a lot, okay? So I began to realize that as the law of navigation came into play, and I was watching people and I was learning and growing myself, there's something that I had to learn myself here. And that was, I had to know before the others know. I had to know where we were going to go, and I had to know that before the others knew that. If other people were trying to take us somewhere, if they were trying to navigate, and I had 5 or 6 people trying to navigate themselves without having that clear picture of where we're going, we've got chaos, we've got disconnects, and we have disunity. If we're going to create unity and momentum, I had to have a clear path, a clear navigational route that all charted out, and we knew exactly how we were going to get there, and we had to know how everybody was going to pull in and work together to achieve that common cause. So I had to know before others did. So I had to get out ahead of the game, okay? And then there were certain aspects of truth that I had to understand that I could relay to others. And I say certain aspects of truth for a very specific reason. There are natural laws in our culture, in our universe, and these natural laws can't be broken. Just like the laws of leadership can't be broken. There are natural laws that we have to adhere to as business owners. So those concepts of truth, we needed to learn and follow. And any of the lies, maybe they were internal lies about our belief system, maybe they were internal lies about business models in our modern world. Maybe there were internal lies that we had to get rid of in order for us to see a truth in front of us in that navigation process. And that was eye-opening for me. So the law of navigation, again, was a big, big piece of my life, doing what it is that I've done. Now, tied directly to that is the law of buy-in. See, here's the thing that I've learned. Even if I chart an amazing course, and even if that course is out in front of me and I know exactly where I want to go, and I know exactly where I think the business should go, if I can't sell that idea, if I don't have the buy-in of my team, I'm not going to be able to go. If they don't catch the vision because they know me, they trust me, they're willing to follow me. If they're not willing to follow and trust and be with me, then I still have a massive problem. So this law of buy-in was a huge deal. It was an extremely important aspect of our success. So that tied in directly with the law of navigation. Okay? Now the fourth law that was extremely important to me, and again, this is one that I had never even thought about because I grew up on the farm and I grew up doing a lot of work myself. And, I'd wake up every morning and I'd go out and do my calf chores. I'd go out and feed my hogs, and I'd just get up and I'd do the work myself. Every day I did the work, I did the work, I did the work. And that's what I learned how to do really good, was doing the work. So the law of empowerment was a foreign law to me. I'd never even thought about it. But my ability to empower others to do the work, my ability to empower others to be successful, to empower others to use their giftedness, was extremely important in a process called collaboration. See, I learned several years ago that collaboration is way more valuable than competition. If I can learn how to collaborate, if I can learn how to connect with people, if I can learn how to work in people's strengths for a common cause, a common good, that's way more influential than competition. So I had to learn to empower people to move the organization with momentum. I couldn't do it all myself. And that was one of my biggest limiting factors in growing our teams and being successful, is I had too much control. See, there's actually three main things that I think is preventing a lot of people from being able to empower others. And one is insecurity. If we're an insecure leader, we're going to be intimidated by others. We're going to feel intimidated by others being too good at something. We feel like we have to be the best at doing everything if we're going to be the leader. And that's insecurity. And it's just not real successful for those leaders. The second type of leader that I think has problem with this is a controlling leader. These are guys who micromanage everything. And they micromanage everything because they don't trust anything. And I've seen this happen time and time and time again in the last 30 years. People who micromanage are extremely controlling. They have to know absolutely everything. They have to see every I dotted and every T crossed. And if you write a letter, or if you write a blog or an email and it's not quite perfect, then it's wrong. and they'll make you change it to make it perfect. And then when you've now perfected it, it's no longer yours. And I begin to realize that if I'm not empowering people to use their creativity, to use their giftedness, to use their strengths and their possibilities and their potential, then I'm not going to get a team. I'm not going to have followers. So I was a controlling leader that had to learn to give up to go up. I had to learn to let go so I could go up to another level. I had to let go so they could go up to another level. And you know, your team is your most appreciable asset. I mean, that's what we have to remember. Okay, the last one I think is important is positional leaders. And these are individuals who oftentimes get their leadership position because they were good at a skill. They were good at one or two things, and next thing you know, they're put into a leadership role. And in that leadership role, they feel like, you know, that everybody else falls under them. So they're controlling, they're insecure, and they micromanage. These are individuals who struggle with all these different things because they've been put into a position but not developed for the position. Extremely challenging in a lot of organizations because we don't focus on the development of the people. And if you don't focus on the development of the people, as people get put into positions, they're not going to know how to best optimize that position. And if they don't know how to optimize that position, they're not going to be able to maximize their potential. Huge problem. So we see this all the time. You probably can look back into your life and see this happen in several different positions that you worked under. Okay? You look at some of those positional leaders, you'll see that. Had they been trained, had they been equipped, had they been empowered themselves before they got into those positions, my friends, they could have been extremely powerful as leaders. They would have known that the best leaders develop other leaders. The best leaders are willing to give up of themselves to go up with others. And that's priceless. Absolutely priceless, my friends. So those are the four things that in my career, in my short career, in the last 10 years of really focusing on and growing. The law of the lid, the law of navigation, the law of buy-in, and the law of empowerment were four laws of leadership that completely changed my world. And I'm still empowering these laws today. I still use them all the time, and I'm very aware of them. Because if I'm aware of them, then I can truly see where I'm lacking. I can truly see the gaps in my leadership. I can see now the lids on my leadership well before I hit the lid. But if I'm not aware of it, I'll be hitting that lid all the time and just be struggling, going, what in the world is happening? Why is it happening? This always happens to me. You know, we gotta get past that. So those are things that I've learned in this space as I've gone through this book every single year. Okay? The laws can be learned. Now these are 4 points that John actually made as he revised his 21 Laws book after 10 years. So after 10 years of being on newsstands and in bookstores, John was asked to revise it and make it new. And John said there were 4 things that were extremely powerful for him. And one is that he learned that all of these laws can be learned. He said some are easier to understand and apply than others, but every one of them can be acquired. And that's the key factor here. See, leadership is not something that you're born with. Leadership is something that you develop. And it's developed daily. It's not developed in a day. You can't get a position in your organization take that position and believe that you're a leader. Well, you may believe it, but you won't actually be a leader at that point. See, leaders develop, they grow, they become a leader. They become a leader through process. And that's important to remember. And that was one of John's notes. John also said that the laws can stand alone. The laws can stand alone. While I showed you a couple of examples of how the laws work together, these laws can stand alone in and of themselves in any situation. If you get into a position where you're really struggling with a relationship issue, or you're really struggling with a project or a problem that's happening in your organization, I can guarantee you one of these laws are being broken. And by recognizing which law is being broken, you can begin the process of mending and fixing and repairing. You want to remember that. If you know these laws, understand them, and get a grasp on them, you will recognize where they're not being used. Okay? So, there were just a couple of things that I wanted to add to that. How do I begin that process? How do I use laws when they stand alone? Well, one was start by viewing and reviewing them all. You have to know them. If you don't know these laws, then you're not going to know how to use them when you need them. Okay? And then identify which of these laws are you really, really good at. Which of these laws connect with you in your life? See, when you look at your life and your experiences, which of these laws are most important to you? Which make the most sense? Which are most recognizable to you? And then work on managing your weaknesses. You may find as you go through this book, the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership, which I'll actually post this down in the comments. I'll post a link where you can go in and purchase the 21 laws. Okay, but here's the thing. When you begin to recognize where your strengths are in leadership, you're going to naturally recognize where your weaknesses are in leadership. And when you begin to understand that some of these laws can stand alone, they'll oftentimes stand alone because they're weaknesses to you. I had those myself. I have weaknesses in leadership, and I struggle with these things, my friends. We all are going to in some way, shape, or form. Even John himself will tell you that there's 5 of these 21 laws that he is not good at, and he wrote the book. So as we start thinking about this, we need to know and understand our weaknesses so we can either strengthen them if they're character challenges or manage them if they're skill challenges. Those are things we have to remember. Okay, the third thing that John took out of this when he revised this book is the laws carry consequences with them. See, consequences are going to happen. Everything in your life is cause-effect. Everything. It's a natural law that cannot be broken. For every effect, there's a cause. For every cause, there's an effect. Okay? We learned this back in elementary school, but very few of us ever really learn to embrace it, what it means in our everyday lives. So the thing about the law, each of these laws having consequences, some of them are good, some of them are not good, depending on how you use them. See, that's the thing. We get the opportunity to choose. And that's what I love about understanding these laws. I get to choose how I use them now. And years ago, that wasn't the case for me. I didn't understand them, so how could I choose to use them the right way? That was priceless for me when I began to understand that my choice on how these laws are implemented impacts my results. Game-changing, and it was so common sense, right? Now, the fourth thing that John took out of these is that the laws are the foundation of leadership. He says once you learn the principles, you have to practice and apply them to your life. Practice and apply. Practice and apply. Practice and apply. Practice and apply. You want to practice the right things in your life so you build the right habits. You want to practice the right things so you can apply them in the right way. These are critical aspects. I have practiced so many different things in my life, but I haven't practiced them right. And that's a problem. I need to practice things right if I want to get the right results. So my friends, understanding these laws, practicing and apply them, it'll change your life. So as we start thinking about the next 21 weeks, as we go through this, guys, this is going to be a priceless training for you. I challenge you to share this Facebook post, share this out with your teams, invite your teams to sit in on Thursdays at 7 o'clock. Get everybody in your organization to sit in and listen to these, because we're going to bring some very, very powerful components and powerful stories into your life every Thursday night at 7 o'clock. And if you can't be there live, then share the videos with your team. Sit down over your lunch hour and watch the videos over your lunch hour and have discussions around them. Make it a mastermind at your own organization. Okay? Engage your teams in these laws. Look around the room and say, hey guys, how do you use the law of navigation in your position? How are you using the law of buy-in? How are you using the law of the big picture? How are you using the law of the big mo? All of these things we're going to learn in the next 21 weeks. You don't want to miss out. So invite your friends. Get engaged with this course. Take the opportunity to be a part of this with us. Take the opportunity to build your teams with this. Take the opportunity to go out and serve in your churches and your nonprofits and your schools with this information. Make the choice to do something amazing with it. My friends, I am super excited to bring this to you, and I hope you are too. I hope you're super excited to learn some of the things that I've learned. I hope you're excited to be able to give me feedback and tell me different stories. Tell me stories about how you're using this or how other people in your organization have used it, and it's made your life better, made other people's lives better. See, it's all about how we serve people. That's what we're here for. We're here to serve, to grow and develop other people. So how can we use these laws to accomplish that goal? My friends, Kylan Hunt & Company, we exist really for one main reason, and that is to grow and develop people, to achieve their goals, to achieve their objectives, to achieve their calling in life. You have been put here on purpose for a purpose. And our job at Kylan Hunt & Company is to help you achieve that purpose and be victorious in your life. And we do that with 3 simple steps. Number 1, seek truth. Seek truth. Do not buy the lies. Do not buy into the lies. There are so many lies that we are told, that we are taught to believe. We got to seek truth. In everything that we do, seek truth. And when you do, we want you to gain wisdom. Seek truth, gain wisdom. I'm not talking about gaining knowledge. Knowledge is not what we're talking about at all here. Gain wisdom. Wisdom, according to the scriptures, is more valuable than gold, precious jewels. Wisdom has so much knowledge, so much value that knowledge never can. Okay? Seek wisdom. And when you have that wisdom, use it to serve others. Use it to serve others. See, the next 21 weeks, we're going to be bringing you these Think Tank Thursdays as a coaching program through a coaching concept. We're going to be asking you questions that make you think, asking questions that makes your team think. And when you're helping people think into their potential, helping people think into their inner capacity, you know what you're doing? You're serving them. That is servanthood, my friends. That is the best of the best serving right there. It's getting people to think, to grow, and develop, and become more in themselves so that they can serve, equip, and develop more people themselves. That's leadership, developing leadership. You'll do it by seeking truth, gaining wisdom, and serving others. That's what we stand for here. That's why we exist as an organization. So my friends, I hope you make it an amazing week. Remember, the choice is yours. The choice that you take in the position that you're in will determine the results that you get. Thank you, my friends. Make it an amazing weekend. Until we get the chance to meet again in face-to-face, or we get a chance to meet here on this platform, God bless.